Hey, that was fun. The Tigers take the opener of the weekend set against the Minnesota Twins. The youngsters show out some clutch offense as well. We break it all down next on this edition of the Locked On Tigers POSTCAST.
You are Locked On Tigers POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Detroit on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, a little bit of life from the ball club after dropping 3 of 4 to the Rangers. They get the weekend series in Minneapolis set on the right foot with a win 5-4. Some late inning magic once again, and something about that 8th inning for the Detroit Tigers. Happy to have you along for the Locked On Tigers POSTCAST. I am your host, Jake Riepma. Thanks for making this a part of your day, your team every day. And my name, again, is Jake Riepma, formerly with 97.1 The Ticket, now with Locked On Tigers, and fired up to be with you on the flagship. Thanks so much for joining me. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. That's right, this episode brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. All you got to do is go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. And on today's show, we're going to talk about that clutch offense, the way they were able to manufacture some runs throughout the course of the game. And Jack Flaherty, I thought he looked really good on the mound. The bullpen was solid, and Jason Foley slams the door shut in the 9th for his 6th save of the season. But we are going to mention that putrid defense that reared its ugly head once again, because there's little league mistakes being made out on the field, and it's starting to get to the point where it seems like it's at least a once or twice or 3 times occurrence throughout the course of the game. So we'll break that down. And introducing a new segment this evening. It's a Friday night. Happy to have you along. Happy to have you tuned in. So how about some Friday funnies? As I watched the Tigers game, there were some funny instances that occurred to me, and most of them are the Tigers defense. And so it's better to laugh than cry. So we will laugh about some of the Friday funnies that took place. But let's talk about that offense, because this has been the point of conversation, the topic of conversation around this team. And when they've been as bad as they have been in the past, we've pointed that out. But they deserve their flowers on a night like tonight, because it wasn't the type of offensive performance that's going to light up the scoreboard, and the conditions certainly didn't warrant that as well. I mean, how many times did they mention it on the broadcasts, Johnny Kane and everybody else, how cold it is there, 40 degrees. At times it looked like there were some very, very mild flurries. And I'm not a weatherman, but when you have that type of temperature factor in a baseball game, sometimes the offense isn't going to be at its best. But I thought the Tigers did a great job in manufacturing some runs, and they were clutch. There were some clutch at-bats from the Tigers as well, which is something we haven't seen with great regularity. But 6 for 10 with runners in scoring position. Obviously, that's one that jumps out to you. A couple other things that I wrote down in my notes here. Obviously, Wenceel Perez had a night to remember. Kerry Carpenter with a 4-hit night. And those two guys, and this is where you just kind of got to laugh, because we're also going to be bringing up those names when we talk about the poor defense displayed by the Detroit Tigers. But let's talk about the positive first. I thought Wenceel Perez, he had the bloop single early in the game for his first career RBI. That was good. It seemed like that gave him a little bit of confidence. And then the triple that was part of that one run in the 6th inning for the Tigers. And then obviously coming around to score in the 9th, or he had the RBI in the top of the 9th. And I said 8th in the open earlier. It's the 9th inning where the Tigers went ahead. They scored the 1 run in the 9th inning. Parker Meadows was able to get to second on that errant throw on the pickoff attempt, and then it was Wenceel Perez that hit him home. So my apologies there. Let me get my notes back in front of me. There you go. The 9th inning is when Perez had that clutch at bat to send home the runner, Parker Meadows, for the eventual game-winning run. But let's go back to that first inning, because it worked out for the Tigers, but when you struggle to score as much as this Tigers team does, sometimes you got to get a little bit aggressive. And after Kerry Carpenter had that double on second, it was Spencer Torkelson, who also had a 3-hit night and made a really, really nice play there in the 9th inning defensively. And he's been the subject of some not so good plays defensively as of late. So good to see him make a really nice play in that 9th inning. But that ball he went the other way on in the 1st inning to the second baseman, Eduardo Julian, it was kept on the infield. But I like the aggressive nature from the Tigers to send Kerry Carpenter home and make the Twins make that play early in the game. Obviously, Julian short hopped it into the catcher. It gets by him. And I didn't love the dumb base running decision by Spencer Torkelson after that, being out at second base by 30 feet. Part of our Friday funnies, we'll get to that. Craig Monroe said he loved it, which is very, very strange. But nonetheless, that ended the inning in the first. But putting the pressure on the defense was something that you have to do when you struggle to score runs as much as the Tigers do. So let me know what you think in the comments about that aggressive nature. Shout out to our people tuning in. We got Adam Salgett tuning in right now, my main man. Love to see Broder as well. Appreciate the support from some fellow content creators right there. All good stuff there. And everybody's in a good mood on a Friday night when you got the Tigers taking the opener in an important weekend series against a Twins team that is down and out. And we talked about that because obviously it's only been a couple of games since the Tigers were last playing the Twins, albeit at Comerica Park. But good to get the weekend series off on the right foot. And in a game that you felt like you were the better team throughout the course of the 9th innings, you had the 1 inning in which you let the guard down defensively, but the pitching performance from Flaherty combined with the gritty manufacturing of runs on the offensive side, putting the pressure on the defense, putting the base runners in motion, those are all components that lead to winning baseball. Now, 2 outfielders not being able to communicate like Meadows and Perez weren't able to in right field. Carpenter not fielding the ball up against the wall from Buxton. Those are not winning baseball plays, but the Tigers made enough of those plays to ultimately win the game. And in a tie game in the 9th, you're watching that game, you're thinking they got to get this one, given how that series against the Rangers went, losing 3 of the 4 games against Texas. And same kind of thing, close games and games you felt like you could win, but ultimately it was the defense that let them down in those games against the Rangers. The defense it still needs to be better. It needs to be a whole heck of a lot better in the next couple of games in Minnesota to continue that winning effort. But in the end, as we always say, it doesn't have to be pretty, but you got to find a way to get the dub. And that's what the Tigers did tonight. Couple other notes I made about the offense. The top of the order, much more productive than it has been as of late. Batters 1 through 4, 10 for 17. And the only guy that really had an off night was the leadoff hitter, Mark Hanna, 0 for 4. He really struggled, but a 3-hit night for Perez, we mentioned, 4-hit night for Carpenter, 3-hit night for Spencer Torkelson. I mentioned the nice play he made defensively. Other note to add, Gio Urshela leaving this game with the hamstring tightness is what they kept calling it on the broadcast. But anybody that's played sports and any athlete knows you're legging one out in that quick burst of motion on a cold night like that, and you feel that tweak in the hamstring, and let's pray it's just a tweak and not the hamstring tear or anything. But I'm not going to pretend to be a doctor by any means, or a certified athletic trainer, or any of the other important medical support staff that help keep our guys fresh. But once again, Tigers get the victory. You love to see it. Thanks everybody for tuning in on YouTube. If you're catching the audio only version on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you get your podcast, we certainly appreciate that as well. Going to be with you all season long on Locked On POSTCAST. And it's a fun initiative that Locked On's doing for some instant reaction pieces, which is what it's all about. So if you haven't yet, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It takes about 2 seconds, maybe even less than that. Doesn't cost you anything, and it helps us out a great deal as we continue to reach our Tigers audience. And if you're like me and you don't have anything better than going on a Friday night, We appreciate you joining us. So Tigers manufacture enough runs offensively, and lately they've just been a different team than I would say the identity, quote unquote, identity of this team that we know about being the great pitching, great defense. And the last two games, the offense has done enough to win the games, albeit that slugfest against the Rangers didn't go our way down the stretch. But here tonight against the Minnesota Twins, it's a 5-4 win. Coming up, we're going to break down Jack Flaherty's start, which I felt like it was his best start of the season. Defense didn't do him any favors. We'll talk about that next. Today's show is made possible by FanDuel. That's right. This episode sponsored by FanDuel, and it's playoff time in the NBA, the NHL, and baseball's in full swing. And FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. That's right. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 and $50 win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all in an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. So what the heck are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, with the offense, you got to have good pitching as well. And Jack Flaherty did a lot of really, really good things on the mound. And I think that was his best start of the season. And the defense should have helped him out a little bit more because the 2 runs in the bottom of the 6th, I'm going to go ahead and it may be an overly simplistic take, but it's just not his fault. You got to be able to make those plays on fly balls to the outfield. That's a pitcher doing his job. And albeit the Buxton RBI double was well hit, but that's a ball that hits the base of the wall that Carpenter has to make the catch, has to play that better. And there's just no excuse for the misplay between Meadows and Perez. I know Perez, the youngster, and is kind of our hero of the game, if you will, with the RBI or the go-ahead RBI in the 9th, but that doesn't excuse the play in right field. And Meadows, as the center fielder, I mean, I played Little League. A lot of us played Little League. I played high school baseball, obviously college football, so more of a football guy on the field. But everybody knows in baseball, the center fielder is the captain of the outfield. You take charge, and it was a sign of the youngster Perez being a little bit too aggressive, trying to make the play on that weak fly ball into right center. But at the end of the day, I don't care how it's done. There's got to be better communication, and there's got to be that just has to be an out. Jack Flaherty does not deserve to leave that game in the 6th inning, or I guess, if you look at his line, he finished the 6 innings, but he does not deserve the 4 runs, 2 of them being earned on the night in an outing in which Jack Flaherty was really, really good at certain times. A couple of the notes that I wrote down with Flaherty: he was strike 1 all night, first pitch strike all night, which you love to see. Dan Dickerson on the TV broadcast, this time with Benetti being out for the Michigan spring game tomorrow. Dan Dickerson, as always, did a phenomenal job, but pointed out how good Flaherty was with the first pitch strike. 14 of the first 15 batters he faced, first pitch strike, 8 Ks through 4 innings. So obviously had a lot of guys off balance, 10 Ks in total. And without sounding like a broken record, when your pitcher puts forth that type of performance and on top of that is able to rally back from giving up the home run in the first inning instead of pouting or sulking or whatever it may be, he bounces back after that first inning and knew he didn't have his best stuff in the first inning, but then fouls it up with a quality start. I mean, by definition, obviously the quality start with 3 runs, and he gave up 4 through 6 innings, but gave his team a chance to win, which is all you can ask for from your starting pitcher. And the combination of the aggressive offense, manufacturing runs with quality starting pitching and a shutdown bullpen is going to be the identity of this team and give you a lot of chances to win the baseball game. And that's exactly what we saw on display tonight for the Detroit Tigers. Some other notes with Flaherty. I thought he was really, really good mixing up the pitches around the zone. Simo and Dan Dickerson talk about the pitch mix and what he had working with him. He was using his sweeper effectively, using that splitter effectively as well, and working through the different parts of the zone. Now, the home run back in the first inning to, I believe it was that got the home run for the Twins back in the first inning. It was Trevor Larnach. It was an 0-2 count, too. That's what makes it so frustrating. And I'm sure Flaherty is saying exactly this in his post-game outing, that he was really, really close from it not being a quality start to where he gave his team a chance to win, but it being a dominating start, because you take out that first pitch in the bottom of the first inning. And now obviously there was a Kurloff had the double, but you take out that home run that he gave up to Larnach in an 0-2 count in that first inning. And that's a really dominating performance from Jack Flaherty, because he settled in. He had Twins hitters off balance the entire night. And then in the sixth inning, it was just a matter of his defense letting him down. So really encouraged with the outing from Flaherty. And as we talk about this Tigers rotation as a whole, we're continuing to see a lot of building blocks and a lot of positivity coming from each pitcher, obviously sans Kenta Maeda. Let's just not talk about Kenta Maeda, because this is a happy night. This is a happy show. This is a positive stream on a Friday night because the Tigers got the win. So we're not going to talk about Kenta Maeda. But everybody else in the rotation, you feel like possesses the ability day in and day out to go out and give your team a chance to win, which is really all that you can ask for. So really good outing from Jack Flaherty. And let's talk about that bullpen as well, because it continues to be the strength of the team. And Will Vest came in, pitched, he got 2 outs there in the 7th, was relieved from Chafin. And I thought Chafin was really, really good as well. He's 2-0 on the season. He gets credit with the win with an inning and a third pitched. And then in the 9th inning, Foley getting his 6th save of the season. Foley, and there was, and you know, you would love for your closer just to come in and 1, 2, 3 inning every single time. Obviously, it wasn't that way in the 9th, so it gets a little bit interesting when you got 2 runners on there in the 9th, and you pull up the play-by-play here in the 9th inning with the Twins, and the Twins being the team that they are, you know they're not going to go quietly, and any team for that matter. But with Foley's ability to remain calm, remain poised, and ultimately earn the save, that's all that you can ask for. Despite the Willie Castro stolen base and despite the traffic on the bases there in the 9th innings, it's still 0 hits, 0 runs, and ultimately a dub for the Tigers, 5-4. So Detroit now 11-9, and really impressive road start for the Tigers, 7-2 on the road. Twins fall to 6-12. They are 1-5 at the friendly confines of the Target Field. So big win for the Tigers. Love to see it. Love to see the series getting started on the right foot. And when we come back, we'll wrap it up with our Friday funnies, because there were just some comments on the broadcast. There were some funny, interesting plays, and it's Friday night. Maybe crack a cold one. Maybe we'll have a good time closing it out here as the Tigers get the first win of the series. Today's show is made possible by PrizePicks, America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members, and that includes me, because I love it. It's the easiest way and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch all your favorite sports teams like I do every single night. For example, tonight I picked more on Jack Flaherty's Ks of 5.5. Easy money, because you know he had 10. That's money in my pocket. All you do is pick more or less on any 2-player stack combination and watch the winnings roll in. We know spring training's over. Baseball season is in full swing, so don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your prize pick entries. It's super easy to use app, very, very intuitive, user-friendly. And you're not competing against sharks. You're just simply competing against yourself, more or less, on a player's projected stat line, and watch the money roll in. PrizePicks has something for every sports fan, from baseball and basketball to League of Legends and everything in between. That's right. All you got to do is download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's right. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. And are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every single day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming, except when the Tigers lose. I tend to scream when they make terrible decisions in the field and poor errors like they have the last couple of games. But Locked On Sports today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or free on the Amazon Fire TV channels app. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And we wrap it up with hopefully what will be an entertaining segment. We love adding some new segments here as we get our feet wet on the Locked On Tigers postcast. I mentioned I was formerly with 97.1 The Ticket on the radio side of things, now with Locked On Detroit. And a little bit different in a radio setting than obviously if you're watching on YouTube, whatever it may be. But we like to have a little bit of fun. So how about some Friday funnies for you? Sometimes we wrap it up with studs and duds. We got all kinds of things going on here on the Locked On Tigers postcast, but a couple of Friday funnies that caught my ear or caught my eye, however you want to word it, when I was watching the game tonight. I'm sorry, and this is not a knock on Simo, because I've met him a couple times, super nice guy, but a couple of times he just said the most bizarre things that I can only laugh at, because we'll go to the first inning when Spencer Torkelson gets thrown out at second base by 30 feet on a play that obviously saw the Tigers get lucky with Carpenter scoring from second, because he could have been out by 20 feet. But Torkelson then tries to stretch it to second, but don't worry, he's out by 30 feet. But we got Simo saying, I love that. I love the aggression. And well, Simo, I don't love our players getting thrown out at second base by 30 feet. If you're aggressive and you're able to take the extra base, sure. But I don't like it when it's an egregious move like Spencer Torkelson and he's out by 30 feet. You got to have the instincts to just get to second base if that's what you're going to do, or the presence of mind to know that, hey, even though the ball got by the catcher on that throw, I probably can't make it to second. Maybe we continue the inning instead of getting thrown out at second. So I thought that was rather hilarious. How about Buxton in that sixth inning? Yes, it was an RBI double, but my man thought he hit it 10 rows deep, and he pimped it like it was a no doubt about home run. You got to go back and check the replay. Pimps it, stares at the dugout, and then realized, oh boy, I better run. The way it hit the base of the wall and then bounced and caromed almost all the way back towards the infield, and Carpenter had to run after it. With Buxton's speed, I think he for sure could have gotten a triple. There is no doubt about that. But maybe even turned it into a inside the park home run. And I think if you ask Byron Buxton, and I don't know how prideful of a guy he is, but when you pimp what he thinks is a moonshot that actually doesn't even get out of the yard, you got to wear the egg on your face, man, because that was embarrassing for him. Also pretty hilarious if you're a Tigers fan. But the second part of that play is Kerry Carpenter. We got to play in the outfield a little bit better, my guy. I mean, that's one that hits the base of the wall, and the Twins had their fair shares of mistakes. And, Wenceel Perez's triple also hit the base of the wall. And it's easy coming from me because I haven't caught a fly ball in, 10, 15 years. But I just feel like the ability to track a baseball as an outfielder, play the wall, and there's no excuse if it's your home ballpark, because, I mean, on the road, sure, you don't know the dimensions, whatever it may be, but be an athlete. Let's go. But Byron Buxton, Friday funny for you, my guy, pimping a fly ball to the outfield. Now, if Carpenter would have caught it, it would have been an extra funny Friday funny, but still I mean, what are you doing, man? Let's leave the bat flips and pimping of home runs to balls that are going to actually leave the yard. How about that? Back to my friend Craig Monroe. This one was tough. The Tigers were getting dominated by Joe Ryan at one portion of the game. And I know they scored on Joe Ryan early, but if you go back through the play-by-play, there was a time in which Joe Ryan retired 7 consecutive Tigers. And then that same time, our guy Simo on the broadcast just decided to throw in, wow, the Tigers are really starting to make Joe Ryan uncomfortable, as he proceeds to retire 7 in a row. So I don't know about you, but seeing a pitcher that has retired 7 in a row, probably not that uncomfortable. But again, what do I know? I'm just this talking head. Funny, what does AJ Hinch call us? Pundits. That's right. That was classic. You pundits, you wouldn't understand. But a couple of Friday funnies for you. Let me know if you saw any out there as well in the comments, because baseball's a fun game, guys. Let's not lose sight of that. And it's even more fun when you win, like the Tigers did here tonight. 5-4 the final in this one. We'll run through the box score one more time. Big nights offensively from Kerry Carpenter. 4 hits for him. Wenceel Perez gets the game-winning RBI, one of 2 RBIs on the day. Also had the triple 3-hit game for Spencer Torkelson. Gio Urshela leaves the game with a hamstring tweak, we hope. The report from Tigers PR said hamstring tightness, so obviously that will continue to be evaluated there. And Parker Meadows, the game-winning run, one of 2 runs that he scored, because he also drew a walk and came around to score. So anytime he can get on base, we know the speed that he has. Other note I wanted to add in, Riley Green's pinch hit at bat. He just looked lost at the plate there, and it was in a big spot with a couple of guys on, and was blown away in 4 pitches and 3 straight. Took ball 1 and then just had no answer. So that said, the end of the day, Tigers get the win. They're now 11-9, 7-2 on the season. Twins fall to 6-12. We'll do it again tomorrow. Reese Olson takes the mound for the Tigers tomorrow. That one will be an afternoon game, so make sure you set those alerts up on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet already. It's free, doesn't cost you anything. And like I said, we'll be with you all season long on the Locked On Tigers postcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. And I thought of another way. I've been given one fun fact at the end of shows, so we'll continue with that. But I had someone ask me, maybe tell us a little bit about some of the items that you got going in the backdrop there. So I'll start with some of the bobbleheads that we've got going and work through what else is on tap for our little mini studio setup. But the bobbleheads will work backwards. One of my all-time favorite bobbleheads there. If you see, as I open my shoulder, if you're listening to the audio version, I'm sorry, but check us out on YouTube. You can see the audio version. But off over my right shoulder, I've got the Chris Chelios Stanley Cup bobblehead, Tayshaun Prince with the trophy, Larry O'Brien trophy in 2004. The Jim Leland bobblehead's one of my all-time favorites there in the back corner. I've got a Kirk Gibson bobblehead back there as well. Rasheed Wallace, Jared Goff bobbleheads, and Miguel Cabrera bobbleheads. And the one in the very front, got that last year actually. It was the Riley Green diving catch bobblehead where he's actually laying parallel. And it's kind of a unique bobblehead. But big bobblehead collector. I've got, this is probably embarrassing, but I have over 75 of them as well. So that said, appreciate everybody tuning into this edition of the Locked On Tigers postcast. Always a blast to be with you on the air. Don't take it for granted, because it is what I'm most passionate about Detroit sports, and passionate about Tiger dubs like they get tonight, 5-4. Reese Olson takes the bump tomorrow. Join us tomorrow for our Locked On Tigers postcast, and continue to join us all season long. Thanks so much. And don't forget to check out Locked On Tigers each and every weekday with Scott Bentley. Tremendous programming there. He does an amazing job keeping you up to date on everything surrounding the Detroit Tigers. We're like a 1-2 combo, but I caught Locked On Tigers today. As always, it was tremendous. Never disappoints. So have a wonderful rest of your Friday evening, and we'll talk to you next time on Locked On Tigers postcast.